We're shifting focus to some more news coming in. This time, the news coming in from Ukraine, and these visuals on your screens are from the Ukrainian capital city of Kyiv, where multiple explosions have just been heard. Russia there perhaps upping the ante against Ukraine, trying to reclaim the areas that Ukrainian forces had managed to wrest from them. And Abhishek, my colleague, is joining us for more on that. Abhishek, we can hear and see those multiple explosions taking place there, but what exactly transpired?
This is apparently an attack from the Russian military side, and this comes on the heels of the Crimea bridge blast that has happened on Saturday. That actually was a point where it was being anticipated that there is going to be only escalation from the side of Russia to avenge something that was hitting a very weak point of Russia, that was this prime infrastructure that would connect Russian south to the peninsular Crimea. So ever since that incident had happened, it was believed that Russia would take some aggressive steps. And today, when the missiles and rockets are hitting the central part of Kyiv, the capital city of Ukraine, this is coming. The worst fears of Ukrainians are coming true, because there was this anticipation that Russian would attack back, and this is happening in that context. Also, Russia has said, the Russian investigative agencies have said that the attack on Crimea Bridge was very much linked to various special forces operation in Ukraine, who masterminded, planned, and then conducted that strike on Crimea Bridge, which also resulted in death of 3 civilians on the Crimea Bridge. Also, there have been certain aspects of that whole operation that also connects dot that this whole truck, which was laden with explosives, that traveled through Bulgaria, Armenia, and Krasnodar and other parts. So in a way, they have also told that they have identified the persons who were involved in this, and one of the largest segment of Ukrainian special force was also involved in this whole operation to sabotage the Crimean Bridge. And today, the bombing or the rocket fires or the missile launches that we are seeing in the city of Ukraine, Kyiv, the capital city of Ukraine, could be linked to something of that incident that has happened a few days back on Crimean Bridge. Because for very last few days, there has not been any aggressive step or aggressive bombing on the capital city of Kyiv from the side of Russian military, because Kyiv could be the central part of Ukraine, and to launch any rocket attack, Russian warplanes will have to fly over a long territory, and then only they can launch the missile attack on the capital city. So far, the fight has been limited to the bordering areas, especially those regions where Russia has occupied territories like Kherson, Zaporozhye, Donetsk. But now, once again, Russia is trying to destabilize the capital city of Ukraine, and this is clearly escalation of war from the side of Russian military, one can say.
Absolutely, and Abhishek, this comes just days after Putin put in place the renewed mobilization plan. So it looks like he has set the ball rolling. And before I get you in, Sushant Sareen, Strategic Affairs Analyst, now with us on this broadcast. And Mr. Sareen, how do you view this? Just a few days ago, Putin in fact announced perhaps what is the first large-scale military mobilization since we've seen the World War. And now it looks like he's set the ball rolling.
Look, the war hasn't been going in the favor of the Russians. There have been counterattacks taking place from the Ukrainian side. Large amounts of territory have been recovered by the Ukrainians. The Russian war machinery has faltered. And then you had this blowing up of the bridge, not entirely, but substantially, linking Crimea to the mainland. And we've seen that not only was the mobilization happening, but there's been a change of command in the Russian general staff to take the war forward. Now, clearly, with the Russians on the back foot, there are political compulsions, there are strategic compulsions, and I think it is only to be expected that they would escalate the war. They would escalate it to a point, where they would start trying to push back the Ukrainian side. So, frankly, if they are now targeting the Ukrainian capital, it doesn't come as a surprise. Now, I don't know these explosions which have happened, whether these are missile strikes, these are some kind of other non-conventional kind of tactics which have been used. I'm not aware of that. But it doesn't surprise me that, the Russians are going to up the ante. Maybe, and maybe I'm just shooting my mouth off on this, but there is a hope that once this escalation starts, there will be an incentive on both sides to come back to the table and try and at least have some kind of an uneasy peace or ceasefire agreement and then maybe negotiations. But like I said, I think that's a bit of a long shot as of now. But for now, we are likely to see a escalation in hostilities from the Russian side and a pushback from Ukraine and its backers in the West is also going to happen. So brace yourself for greater turmoil in the world markets. Brace yourself for greater bloodshed in this war theater. It's not looking very good for now.
And Mr. Sareen, it's been about 8 months or so since Russia actually invaded Ukraine. They definitely didn't think it would last this long, that Ukraine would actually be able to hold out for this long. The global pressure is definitely mounting on Russia, but that does not seem to deter Putin. That perhaps is only adding to the frustration, which unfortunately is being taken out on the civilians of Ukraine.
Yeah, look, any war, the civilians do get caught up in it. That's one of the unfortunate aspects of all wars. But the thing is that, wars burn themselves out when one side runs out of ammunition. Now, if the Ukrainians were on their own and they were not receiving the kind of backing they are getting from the West, plus the fact that the Ukrainians on their own have put up a very good fight, they're not giving in. So with both those factors, plus the factor that the Russians, are no spring chickens. They have a very advanced, war industry. They have a very advanced military machine. So when you put these two things together, this kind of a war does not end, like most wars in the subcontinent and other places where 15, 20 days, 21 days, everything is over. You run out of ammunition, you run out of, material to fight the war, and then you sue for peace, or some kind of a ceasefire agreement is worked out. In the West, these kind of wars end up as proxy wars. What is happening in Ukraine is now a war between one great power, Russia, versus the other great powers in the West. And the Ukrainians are fighting that war. As perhaps they should, because it's their sovereignty and their territorial integrity that is at stake, that has been challenged by the Russians. But at the end of the day, this war is limited to Ukrainians. And as long as they are willing to fight and as long as they keep getting the war material from the West, this war is not ending anytime soon.
Also, Mr. Sareen, we've just got fresh visuals of this entire explosion. We are putting that out for our viewers, for them to view it. We've also heard that this is actually a visual on the right